Okay, and then lastly today we're going to read chapter 21, Saturday, December 17th. Josie refused to perform with him, so Oscar was left on his own to wander through the kids' rooms on the peds ward. By now, he knew everyone pretty well, and since Josie and Gabby were singing up a storm, Oscar mostly just chatted with the kids. Which was fine because it was easy. Sure, he'd come to kind of enjoy singing, but it wasn't like he missed it much. "Hey, secret agent," Jade said as she and Ed passed. They were dressed as candy canes, and Jade was wearing tap shoes that clinked when she walked. "Hey," Oscar said, thankful that at least some people were talking to him. He was heading over to Allison, who'd come in for physical therapy, when he felt an iron grip on his elbow. "We need to talk," Gabby said, steering him into the lounge, her black boots tapping and red plush skirt swinging. He'd been taken hostage by Mrs. Claus. She didn't let go of his arm until they were sitting on the sofa. "You need to make things right with Josie. And I know how you can do it," Gabby announced, taking charge like she always did and smoothing the skirt of her Mrs. Claus costume. "But first, I need to know if it's worth it to ask you, because I'm still trying to figure out if you're a jerk or not." Like he was going to have a conversation about that. But when he tried to get up, Gabby grabbed him in her vice-like grip. "Why did you take Clementine?" she asked. He debated, wrenching his arm free, but what was the point? She'd probably just follow him, and what was happening to his family wasn't going to be a secret much longer. "My parents are splitting up," he said, fiddling with his secret agent sunglasses. "And when Clementine followed me, it was easier to be home with her there." He hadn't expected to say so much, but she was nodding. "I'm sorry about your parents," Gabby said. "You know, my aunt and uncle split up 2 years ago, and it was really tough for my cousins at first, but now their parents are a lot happier, and they are too." This was not helpful. Nothing was going to be better about his family being blown apart. "Maybe," he said shortly. "Anyway, that's why I took the dog." Gabby pulled on a curl. "I shouldn't tell you it's going to get better," she said after a moment. "I don't know what it's like for you, but I do know what it's like when everything's awful, and that's really hard." She looked at Oscar. "I get why you kept Clementine. I'm not saying it was okay, but I get it." Something unclenched inside Oscar at her words, and he grinned. "Does this mean I pass your test?" Gabby laughed. "Yes, good news for you. You're not a complete jerk." "Well, I'm glad it's official," Oscar said, rolling his eyes. "And it means I think you can work things out with Josie," Gabby went on. She'd taken off her plush hat and was folding it up absently as she spoke. At that, Oscar stopped smiling. "She really hates me," he said. Thinking about it made him feel like he had last winter on Sutter Hill when he'd fallen off his sled and gotten the wind knocked out of him. But now Gabby was the one rolling her eyes. "Josie likes you," she said. "That's why she's acting like she hates you." Oscar's brows scrunched together. "That doesn't make any sense." "Of course it does," Gabby said impatiently, like Oscar was the unreasonable one. "It means you hurt her feelings. If she really didn't care, she wouldn't make such a big point of showing you." That made even less sense. "Okay, forget it. I can see that part's too complicated," Gabby said. "The point is, I have an idea for how you can make it up to her." Oscar still didn't believe it was true, but if it was... "I'm listening," he said. "It starts with a flashy apology," Gabby said. Oscar had no idea what that would even be. "You're going to have to figure that out because it has to be true to you." Well, that didn't exactly help, but before he could ask, Gabby went on. "The big thing is that you're going to persuade her to sing a solo in the show." "She doesn't want to," Oscar pointed out. Pressuring Josie to sing seemed like a good way to make her hate him more, not less. "I think she does want to, though," Gabby said. "She's just scared." "If she's scared, maybe it's not a good idea," Oscar pointed out. He was starting to think Gabby's great plan was a complete bust. Gabby glared at him. "You can't let fear Make your choices, she said. Then she drew in a breath like she had just thought about what she'd said. Well, I guess we all do that, but we shouldn't. And in this case, Josie really shouldn't. She's an amazing singer, and it's time she stood in the spotlight. Maybe, Oscar said. It was actually a pretty good point, and Oscar had a feeling Gabby was right. Somewhere, hidden away, Josie really did want to find the courage to sing. But what makes you think I'm the one to persuade her? Here's the thing, Gabby said in a way that told Oscar he was not going to like the thing at all. You've been a selfish friend to Josie. Oscar opened his mouth to argue, but Gabby held up a hand. Can you honestly deny it? She asked. You don't hang out with her at school. You let her do all the work at the hospital. And if that wasn't enough, you stole her dog. I get why you did it, but still, dog theft is low on the list of good friend qualities. How do you know I don't hang out with her at school? Oscar said. You're too busy being popular to notice what anyone else is doing. Do you sit with her at lunch? Gabby asked, eyes flashing again. Or walk with her in the halls, or talk to her by her locker? Oscar wilted. No, he said. But I bet you don't either. That was pretty much the last of his fight because he knew Gabby was right on all counts. He had been a pretty crummy friend to Josie, and when he thought about how she'd listened to him about his parents, the way she understood what he was saying, and the way she thought to bring him muffins, he felt lower than the crud on the bottom of his sneakers. You're right. I haven't been hanging out with Josie at school, Gabby said. But that's changing, starting on Monday. She looked at him with a raised eyebrow. And we're not talking about me right now anyway. We're talking about you. And you know what I'm saying is true. Yeah, he said begrudgingly. Gabby smiled and unfolded the hat. So, if you want to show Josie that you're thinking about something besides yourself for a change, make a big apology and tell her she needs to get over her stage fright and sing that solo already. Oscar still wasn't sure about any of this. What's a big apology, he asked, figuring that was the more important thing. If Josie didn't accept his apology, she wouldn't listen to anything he said about performing. Like, say it loudly or writing it down? Gabby rolled her eyes. No, it's just both saying and showing that you're sorry. That did not clarify things at all. Start by thinking of who Josie is, what she cares about, what she loves, Gabby said, and then figure out a way to use that to show her how sorry you are. Oscar considered this. His dad once brought his mom chocolates to say he was sorry for missing their anniversary. Maybe Oscar could get Josie food. After all, everyone liked to eat. But then he realized that wasn't exactly what Gabby had said. She'd said to think of Josie and what she liked, not just something anyone would like, which might have been what went wrong with his dad's apology, because now Oscar remembered that his mom had been on a no-sugar diet that month and had thrown the chocolate out. Josie might reject his apology too, but he could try. He owed her that. I'll think about it, he said to Gabby. Okay, but think fast, Gabby said, because once she forgives you, you're going to have to work quickly to persuade her to sing that solo. I don't think it's going to be as easy as that, Oscar said. Honestly, it seemed pretty impossible. You're right, Gabby agreed. That's why we're going to put a bit of pressure. I'm going to make sure we don't find a final act for the show. That's devious, Oscar said. Gabby grinned. It's being a good friend, she said. You know how much she wants this festival to happen and for it to be the best ever. Well, I guess you have it all figured out, Oscar said. He was kind of in awe. Gabby was the real secret agent around here. Gabby stood up. I do. And now it's up to you to pull it off.